Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy April 2nd. Today is April 2nd, which is April, which is Oral Cancer Awareness Month. And today I'm going to be talking about a subject, which is when do you know when to quit? When should you quit? Yesterday, I talked about the 5 reasons of why you're average. Now, today I'm going to be talking about when you should quit. And why is that important? Is because a lot of you, or some of you rather, around 10% of you, have very lofty goals, have very high goals, but yet struggle to maintain momentum. And so you allow yourselves to slow down and you allow yourselves to become demoralized and not pursue those goals that you put forth. We are still in 2024, might I remind you. And 25% of this year has vanished, absolutely vanished. 25%. So if 25% of the year has vanished and you still have 75%, what have you done in the 25% that are going to propel you in the next 75%? So that's the question. Now, the question that I posed is, when should you quit? Because you have to know when you quit. You can't just keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. That doesn't make any sense, does it? But there's a catch to that. And the catch is that your effort is only dependent on how much you put forth. In other words, your effort is dependent on your intention to succeed. So if you have an intention to succeed that is greater than your failures, that is greater than your excuses, then it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter what you even think about your current situation. It matters nothing. All that matters is that you don't stop. Because the road to success and the road to failure are the exact same roads. They're the exact same roads. It's just one ends sooner. So when you stop pursuing your goal, when you stop pursuing your lofty, vision, when you stop doing that, what you're doing is that you're failing. Like you're causing yourself to fail. But if you continue on the road, eventually you're going to succeed, depending on how big the goal is. The bigger the goal, the more effort you're going to have to put in order for you to shorten the time for you to get to that goal. But do you see the difference? And so this is the topic for today, in that, how do you get that? How do you get that ability to not stop? How do you get that ability to, irrespective of who's supporting you, who's not supporting you? How do you keep going? Because if you don't know how to keep going, you're going to stop, and you're going to be a normal person who is just starting something and then quitting. Now, there's a reason why I started this podcast. There's a reason. And I shared this reason with you on other podcasts, but this is not the point here. But there's a point in that I started the podcast for a reason. And I said that I was going to continue on until day 300, and today's day 75. But there's a reason for that. And one of the reasons is that I want to improve the way that I communicate to a camera, because I think that's a skill that is highly valued in society. It's a skill that's transferable to many different things. And so if I can conquer that, which I am day by day, then that opens up a lot of opportunities. Now, as you can imagine, the difficulty in facing a camera and talking is rather difficult, especially when it's live, especially when there's no edits, and especially when you have to think on the fly. But the effort, my effort, is backed by my intention. And that's just the example. But I have a lot of examples, and I'm sure you have your examples as well. But today we're going to be talking about, or rather, we're going to be continuing to talk about, when is it that you should quit, if you should quit, and two, how can you maintain yourself so that if you have that glimpse of grit, how can you maintain yourself so that you don't quit, so that you keep going? So here's a definition of grit. A lot of us, we tend to get very demoralized when we want to do something, but nobody's supporting us. Or rather, people are actually telling us, not only are they not supporting us, Close family and friends are actually telling us to stop and to quit. And they're giving us good reasons as to why we should quit. Now, what do you do in the face of that? What do you do is that, well, you look at that and you say, okay, well, how bad do I actually want it? When I started this thing, how bad do I want it? And a lot of you are probably gonna reflect on some things where you're like, I didn't want it that bad, right? The pain of the actual effort was far greater than the pain of the failure. And so then that's why you stopped. But if you can associate yourself with the pleasure of the success, or you can associate with making the pain of failure, the pain of you failing prior to you starting the goal. The reason why you started the goal is because you wanted to change something. If that change wasn't backed by pain, if you didn't have enough pain for you to actually have that motivation for you to change something, because every goal is a goal to change, obviously. And so if you didn't have that pain, that strong pain that caused you to actually start the goal, if that pain isn't big enough, if that initial spark isn't big enough, then the pain of failing is going to be the reason for you to stop. And I'm warning you, because that's the reason why most people stop. And most people stop not because of the pain of failure, but because of the pain of what other people may be thinking about them. And that is the number one toxicity that you can have in your brain that is not going to allow you to make 2024 your best year yet. Because 2024 can still be your best year because you still have 75%. It's only 25% that have gone. So you have 75% left. Now check this out. And I think you read this if you did. How well you maintain your resolve when nobody else believes in what you're doing is the definition of grit. And your number one enemy is distractions. Now, I opened up social media today. I mean, I open every day, but I opened it up today and I saw a lot of things, and there's so much negativity and so much fear, and my mind went all over the place. My mind's like, what the heck's going on in this world? Like, there is a lot of stuff that is incredibly troubling, and it's escalating at an insanely fast rate. And you're just like, I can't believe I'm actually witnessing this stuff. And obviously your brain's trying to figure things out, trying to say, okay, what the heck does this mean? What does this mean in terms of the future? And then I caught myself and I said, the fact that you are concerned about things you can't control is allowing you to be distracted from your goal that you set to yourself in the beginning of the year. Because don't you understand that there's going to be a distraction whether or not something is happening external to us or something isn't? You're always going to be distracted by something, whether it's entertainment or whether it's bad news. You're going to be distracted by something, and that's your number one enemy. Because it's going to allow you to succumb to relaxation, to procrastination. And that is something that you have to pay attention to, because if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to fail, and then you're going to go back and say, I'm not good enough, and then you're not going to try again. And that's why the majority of people don't have any resolutions. People with grit believe in themselves to a disgusting degree. If you look at any incredibly high achiever in any sports, let's take sports, because sports, like, you can see it. If you look at, for instance, Tom Brady, or you look at, I don't know, even if you look at actors and actresses, look at Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. I mean, those are the top names that I can think of. But if you look at anybody that you look up to in sport, Cristiano Ronaldo, whoever, these people believe in themselves so much that it'll make you sick. But it'll make you sick to the point where you can only admire them. Another person that I can think of is Reggie Miller, right? This guy doesn't miss three-pointers. Or the guy from Golden State. Shoot, what's his name? Stephen Curry. That guy is, even, in my opinion, even better than Reggie Miller. That guy's insane. But the amount of self-confidence, the amount of confidence he has to have in order for him to believe in himself so that he can keep practicing over and over again is inhuman. And that's why his results are inhuman. His results make you just want to keep watching him over and over again. If you haven't watched his shots, I mean, he's currently still playing basketball. If you haven't watched his games or his highlights, I highly recommend you look him up, Stephen Curry. So there are, and I doubt you haven't heard his name, but there are 4 pillars of you achieving, according to Angela Duckworth, who is the person who is said to be the expert in grit. Okay, she's the person who's an expert in grit, and her story is actually really cool because she grew up in a family, in a household where her dad was very strict, but he did not believe in her, and he didn't believe that she could amount to much. This is before she even got into academia, but she wanted to prove him wrong so much that she became not only a professor, but she wrote one of the all-time best books on grit. And she basically showed it to her dad and threw it at, like, not threw it at him, but like threw her accomplishment at him to tell him that it's not about what you think. And this is her dad. It's not about what you think about me. It's what I think about me. Now, she came up with these 4 pillars of grit, and it's interest, practice, purpose, and hope. I think purpose and interest are the same, in my opinion, with all due respect. I think interest, because if you have interest in something, you're going to have interest because you have purpose behind it, right? I mean, there's a reason why you're interested in something, because there's a purpose behind it. And so to me, purpose and interest are the same thing. They're very much linked. So even if you want to consider them different, interest, if you have a certain interest towards a goal, right? You want to achieve something because you're interested in it. Well, by definition, that's a purpose. But anyways, I'm not going to argue that here. Then you practice, and the practice is where you fail, right? So you keep practicing until you succeed. And the hope, according to Michael Jordan, by the way, hope is where you start. Okay. But I'm not going to argue that point either. But these are the 4 things. So if you want to reflect on yourself and you say, okay, well, do I have enough interest for me to pursue this goal? Let's say I want to lose weight. Why am I interested in that? I mean, the why is the purpose. Do you see why I think the interest and the purpose are the same thing? Because when you ask yourself, why am I interested in that? That gives you the purpose. So the purpose gives you the interest. Anyways, I digress. So if you have a strong enough purpose, and Simon Sinek says, if you have a strong enough why, you'll conquer anyhow, right? And I think he got that from, I think it was from Nietzsche, if I'm not mistaken. But having a purpose, starting with a purpose, is what gets you that place, the starting place. Well, that purpose is that thing that I was telling you about with regards to pain. Because if you have a strong enough pain that you're trying to not have repeat, then that gives you the purpose. So to me, I would even replace purpose and interest with pain. Have a strong enough pain for you to be able to chase after the goal, so that pain motivates you. So that no matter what happens, that pain that you're trying to run away from, that you're trying to change, is the purpose, is the interest. And then you create your hope by doing practice. So I'll give you my example. And this is, by the way, this is the last slide. I'll give you my example. My example is when I started this business. When I started this business, this dental business, I knew nothing about marketing. Absolutely nothing about marketing. I didn't know literally nothing. I didn't know about social media. I didn't know about funnels. I didn't know about email marketing. I didn't know about, the different conversions. I didn't know about optimization. I didn't know about the back end, front end, SEO. I didn't know anything. But I had to learn. I had to learn a lot, because when I hired certain people, it just didn't work. And, you see these ads all the time. And now that I mentioned it, more than likely I'm going to see more of those ads. But you see those ads all the time targeting, your business, or targeting whatever it is that you think you're interested in. And, you try them out and they fail. And then you try someone else and they fail. And you start talking to other people and then they fail. And then you realize very few people actually know what they're doing. So then I took it on me for me to actually learn this. And so I learned it to a degree where now when I'm talking to marketers, I'm the one that's giving them value because of the amount of information that I have due to my practice, because I've practiced so much. So all the things that you see, like this podcast setup, the lighting, the way that I'm filming, the camera, the setup, the software, the way that it's being published, the SEO, the words that I choose, all of that is researched. All of that is published, and the way that I plan certain things, all that is done by yours truly. So, but I mean, that didn't come easy, and it didn't come overnight, obviously. I mean, I had to learn, I had to make mistakes, and I still make mistakes. But I am far beyond where I started, way far beyond where I started, to the point where I benefit other people because of the amount of practice and the amount of research and the amount of thing that I've done in order for me to know what I'm doing. I mean, there's very little things that I know that I don't know when it comes to marketing. Very, very little. So, and that's because of me having the practice, and I just kept doing it over and over and over and over again. So that's my example when it comes to marketing. I mean, I have tons of examples, but I mean, it's very very pertinent here because I'm living it on a day-to-day basis. I'm living it. So where do you come to? So now when it comes to grit, when it comes to you in 2024, when it comes to you, I'm incredibly bullish and incredibly very headstrong when it comes to making your New Year's resolution and actually forming it and actually tackling it and not letting it go. Because it really, I mean, every single year is a part of your life. Every single year that passes, a part of your life passes. And so if you're not making the best of your life, then you're wasting it. And you only get one shot. You only get one opportunity. You only get one life. There's no redos. So that's why I find it really interesting that a lot of people don't take their years or their days so seriously because they think that they have time. But there are only so many summers that you have in your life. There are only so many winters that you have. There are only so many weeks that you have, right? I mean, there's one book I think that was written, I think I did a podcast on that. It's around 3,000 to 4,000 weeks that you have, and that's it. That's all you got. You don't have 5,000, 6,000. You only have around 3,000 weeks, 3,000 to 4,000 weeks for your life, right? So every single week that passes by, that number is decreasing. And obviously, depending on where you are right now in your age, you don't have as many weeks. That's why it's really important to take this stuff seriously. It's really important to take every single year seriously and every single day seriously and ask yourself, am I actually fulfilling my potential? Am I pushing the limit? Am I a person who is a quitter, or am I a person who is going to be known that I don't quit? Because I can tell you right now, that's what I'm forming. And a lot of people know that about me. I'm not a quitter. I don't know what quitting means. I have no idea what quitting means because I don't quit. I refuse to quit. I refuse to stop. To me, if something doesn't work, I try to figure out what I can do to make it work. That's my philosophy. So that should be yours as well. 2024, you still have 75% left. Use these tactics, figure it out. And if you've learned anything or you've learned nothing at all from this podcast, just know one thing, that success and failure share the exact same road, except one just ends much sooner. Good night.